All right, the Week 12 preview. Welcome back, everyone. I hope you all had a good Thanksgiving. This is Saturday this time, not Thursday, so my apologies for I didn't realize until Monday that I'm like, oh, wait, there's no way I'm going to be able to record this and upload this on Thursday. I was going to be out of town, so here we are. It's going to be a little different this week because we already know what's happened for 4 of the games this week, so yeah, but looking quickly at last week, Trevor Lawrence was your highest score. Pretty surprising. No one had him. He had his pretty much his first huge game of the year. A couple rushing touchdowns, I think. So that'll do it. That'll do it for that. But let's get into it. Can't forget. I know it's been so long now since it happened. It feels like, but Ben is out of here. So got to pay our respects to him. He had a good season. He was kind of riding towards the bottom for these past couple weeks. I didn't love that he got rid of McCaffrey, but sometimes you have to do what you have to do to survive. But ultimately, did not work out for him, and he gets 8th place. It was a good run, but he's out of here. Now looking at the top 25% of last week, and we have a new picture. Thanks to Ryan for Jake here. He was your top scorer last week, and JC coming in second. He's been here almost every week on this slide. Average score of these guys of 131, which is actually down 10% from last week of 146. The trends just never continue. It seems to just fluctuate up and down every week. But next week or this week I should say, we have no buys, so hopefully it all kind of goes up. And with how the scoring went on some of these games, a lot of high scores. I know there were a couple duds, and we'll get into that, but pretty high scoring so far to get the week started. But props to Jake, gets another star against all odds. I think I had him as my honorable mention to get eliminated, so I've been wrong multiple times. I'm putting Jake on that slide. But now the bottom 25%, we have Potter again getting the trash can, and Tom joining him here with the Ice Cube. Average score of these guys of 99, which is the exact same as last week. The floor kind of stayed the same. Potter's coming off a couple rough weeks, and a combination of bye weeks and injuries and slumping studs. I think he can bounce out of this. He's looking, at least in his projections this week, looking to do better. But Tom is still not really doing much to get himself out of his current position. He's been getting a bunch of ice cubes recently, but not getting eliminated, and that's the name of the game, is don't get eliminated. So we'll see how he plays this. So here's the trend. Probably our narrowest margin here of the top 25 to the bottom 25%. 131, one of the lowest weeks we've seen in a while besides week 9. We saw a higher score week 3. It's just kind of crazy, but it's how it goes. I think from here it should continue to generally trend up, but week over week you'll never know, I guess. I have a hard time believing there will be a lower scoring week than this for the rest of the year. But yeah, that's how it looks for now. Thursday Night Football, normally I look forward to the Thursday night game, but now it's already happened. And there was all 3 games, including a Friday game, which was kind of fun to have too. It was a tough day for Jake, getting Metcalf and Lions D combining for 4.7 on Thursday, but then he had Mostert come through for him late in the game on Friday. He was not having a good game. I have Mostert in another Guillotine league, and I was terrified. I actually have Metcalf and Mostert in another Guillotine league, so I guess I was rooting for some of Jake's guys this week too. So Mostert pulled out, had a garbage time touchdown at the end too to cap it off, go 20 plus. So that saved Jake from being in the deep shit early in the week. Tom Kittle with his first bad week in a long time. Kittle's been the stud, and then Cowboys D saved the day with 16. Honestly, thought they should have had more with a defensive touchdown, but 16 it is. And Coop, not a great week, not a terrible week to start it off. Gibbs getting 9, Robinson getting 7. So he's sitting. These 3 are the 3 sitting at the lowest projected score this week by a pretty wide margin to the next person. They're all floating right around 100 or just below. I think and looking at it right now, JC is the next closest at 120. So in theory, one of these 3 guys is going this week. So Jake would be looking a lot worse right now if that Mostert late game touchdowns didn't happen. But that is that. Now looking at Monday night. Right now, I think this is a decent matchup. I like watching Dobbs, seeing what Dobbs can do with the Vikings and Fields coming back for the Bears. Looks like Hawkinson is the only starter on anyone's team from the Vikings, I believe. Addison's on the bench / dropped, I think. Jake finally dropped him. Jefferson, I don't know if he's coming back, but right now Potter does not have him in the lineup. He's still on IR technically. DJ Moore is starting. Kmet is starting for someone. And Fields is on someone's bench. So maybe could get started, maybe not. We will see. But Vikings are favored by 3. I think this could be an interesting one to end the week. Because I don't think any of those... I don't think Tom or Cooper... Or actually Cooper might have one of these guys. So yeah, Cooper has DJ Moore and Kmet. So actually, I take it back. Because I think Cooper is going to be floating around the bottom this week, Cooper may be going into Monday sweating a little bit and needing DJ Moore and Kmet to do stuff for him. So we'll see how that goes, doubling up on the Bears guys. Now the week 11. Oh, I didn't add the head. I'm so sorry. I tried to remember everything. So did not add the new head of Ben in here. I will add it after the fact. But here's how we stand. Ben gets eliminated. He had the 3rd most points, even with getting eliminated last week. Jake moves 1 up above him. JC stays at the top. Jack at WC moved up 2. Potter stayed where he was. Ryan and Cooper moved up 1 just because Joey fell below. Tom is still below Joey, funny enough. And, next week we might see Tom still below Ben if Tom doesn't score more than 130. Tom is just riding that line, and he has been this whole year, but he's staying alive. And per Ryan's request, I think it's interesting to look at is this right column of the average points per week, including that of those who are eliminated. So obviously those that are alive, it's going to be in order because that just makes sense. It's the number of points you have divided by the number of weeks you've been alive. So right now, if we look at Joey, who just got eliminated in week 10, he's at 111, which is definitely towards the top 5 in the league. And then if we look all the way back to when Basali got eliminated, he was averaging 118 points a week, even when he got eliminated, which I think he scored about 80 points when he got eliminated. So he had plenty of weeks like around 150 or above. I think he had a 170 week. So in that 5-week span, he averaged 118 points a week, which is good enough for 2nd best in the league right now. Just behind JC, who's been rolling recently. 120, averaging over 11 weeks. It's a lot harder to do it over 11 weeks than it is to do it over 5 weeks. Not that I don't think he could have continued it if he survived, but just, I guess, props to JC on that. Jake's up there, too, at 114. I've always had him as hey, I think he's towards the bottom. I mean, Jake and Ben, funny enough. I've had them towards the bottom of the power rankings for a while, but they're getting points. But there's more to it than just straight up points scored in the year. Hence why, Ben got eliminated. Yeah, that is that. I guess you could look at towards the bottom. I mean, Phillip only had 1 week to play. He scored 60. Kennedy 79. Huff 86. I went out with 92. It wasn't great. James went out kind of early for a pretty good average score at the time. Early in the year, averaging 95 a week is not bad through 3 weeks, I wouldn't say. But that is what it is here. We'll keep an eye on this as the weeks go on. The economy, not a lot was spent this week. Only like 20 or 30 fab, maybe, in free agency. Now your average market share is 14%, or about $23. And we see Tom still way at the top, owns 36% of the market. He just isn't spending right now or ever. I don't know if he ever will. I don't think there's a strategy behind it. I think he just... I don't know. I wouldn't say he doesn't care, but he's not making an active effort to put in bids any given week. And now, if he survives one more week and an entire roster of, everyone's roster is good at this point. There's studs on everyone's roster. It just depends on, there's more on some teams than others, but if Tom were to spend a little bit to, pick up an entire team that gets dropped, he could do it if he wanted to. We'll get to his team, but his team is not good right now. And if he finds a way to survive, this has to be the last time I think he has a chance to survive, because I see Jake and Cooper also projected low this week with him. but he is projected the lowest, I believe. If he can pull it out again, he, like, for the love of God, better spend the money. Like, if I had his fab at this point in the year, like, I would have spent it 3 weeks ago. And, props to him for surviving 3 weeks without spending it, but it's time. It's time to spend it if he wants to survive and make it any farther in this league. And I think this money can win you the league. Like, he has the worst team right now, but this money could flip his team into the best team pretty quickly in the span of a couple weeks, I'd say. But JC here with 33, it's a lot of fab to work with, considering I think he has one of the best teams in the league. Potter also with a good amount of fab, and also I think he has a really good team, and there's areas he needs to address, but his team's really good. Jack, similarly, he's been kind of just slowly gaining that fab back. He's making some smart trades and getting fab back. So he's at 19 now, just below the average market share. And then Ryan with 14, he spent a little bit, or he got some back from trading away Hawkinson, but spent it on Tank Dell. We'll get into that, but he's towards the bottom now. Jake with 10. Cooper spent the rest of his in free agency this week. He's now at 0. I think he's hoping to survive this week by making those acquisitions, so it might have been kind of necessary. But yeah, 157 left, and Tom owns 56 of it. So if he goes out, this, really good for those up here, because they won't have to worry about Tom ever spending. Not that right now it doesn't seem like there's really any threat of Tom spending, because he hasn't been, but he has it, so he can if he wants to. Now the, elimination fab chart here last week. So Ben had 23 by Thursday. That's why he's like right here at this line. But he spent, I believe, 20 of it in a trade to get A.J. Brown right before Monday, which did not end up working out for him. So he really died with 3. He didn't leave much out there. He gave it to, I forget who had A.J. Brown at that time, but gave the fab to someone else before he went out. Essentially keeping it in the market. But now we have this week, Tom's bar just keeps getting bigger and bigger because he's not spending, and as every week goes on, there's less fab to spend, and other people are spending, and he's not. So he is way up here in the market share, highest percentage we've seen yet. I mean, every week he's reaching a new high. JC and Potter above that line, as we saw, and then Jack, Ryan, Jake, and Cooper below it. Jake and Cooper were the 2 lowest fab, and they're also 2 of the 3 teams I think are likely to get eliminated this week. It's funny, you have your extremes are likely to get eliminated this week. Your most fab, your least fab, and your second least fab. I think if it was, I know I'll get to my official prediction later, but those are the 3 I think that are absolutely a lock to be one of those 3 to get eliminated. So if you're most people in this league, you're rooting for Tom to get eliminated. Nothing personal, just the fab he has. You'd rather see that gone. But I guess you could also say, I think Cooper and Jake have better players, so people might want one of them to go, because then you get some players out there to actually go for. Tom's team might only have 2 or 3 guys people will go for. Kittle, JT, and Stroud, probably. So, yeah, that is that. And a new little one here. This has been in the works this entire year. It's just been kind of a mess. Not that it isn't a mess, it's still kind of a mess, but it's a little easier to see now that there's less bars here. Like if you just took a snapshot of the left half of this graph, there's like nothing to discern from it. But now you can see one where the names are, where people got eliminated. There's a legend here if you want to try to follow your own bar or your own line or someone else's. But right now, Tom, you can see the flat line. He has not spent since week 9, and honestly, JC really hasn't spent anything since week 9 either. Spent a tiny bit from week 8 to 9, but the difference is JC actually has a good team, like a really good team, and hasn't needed to spend it. Tom really should have spent it. I mean, he made one tiny move from week 8 to 9, so he really hasn't done anything from week 7, to be honest. So it's crazy he survives, but here he is at the top of the market. We've seen recently a lot of people go out after spending a bunch of fab. Actually, we saw a lot of people go out. Like, I spent a bunch of fab, then went out. Mark spent a bunch of fab the week before he went out. Johnny spent a bunch right here. The red line went out. Mitchell spent a bit, went out. It's weird. It's like it's surprising to see that. Ben right here spent a bunch, went out. And really, this should be down to $3, not $23, because it was A.J. Brown. So I don't know. There seems to be a weird connection between spending a lot in one week and then going out the next, so or that same week. So we'll see how it goes. I don't think there's really anything else to say here. Um, I'll keep this one going throughout the rest of the season. The rivalry officially has come to an end. Jake takes it. He survived longer. Um, no offense, but I don't think he's surviving much longer unless something crazy happens. But he did survive longer than Ben. Couple weeks into the maybe 5 or so weeks into the season, I kind of saw this coming. I thought it'd be a battle between these two guys, but I think it was kind of mutually assured destruction that maybe they would care too much about just surviving longer than the other to get the $20, which essentially gets you your bid back, or your wager into the league back. That I didn't think either of them were going to win it. It's kind of how I saw it going, and it looks like it is going to go that way. Jake still could win it. I won't count him out, but I will say it's not looking great. But also, finally, Jake passes Ben on running total points on the year. Ben had that 200-point week that was just hard for Jake to ever catch up from, but he slowly and surely did. Jake was the highest scoring team last week. Ben was the lowest. Ben is gone. Jake wins the match 8-3 officially. Not that the record really mattered, but yeah, I didn't update these ranking charts here because there's no point. Jake has his on his slide later. But yeah, that is it for this slide. More to come in future years. I think we'll keep this one going, but this year Jake takes it. Week 11 takeaways, I'll breeze through it. No top scoring defenses or tight ends. We had 2 top scoring tight ends and 1 top three scoring tight end and 1 top 3 scoring defense. Not a ton to say. I mean, I forget who this was, I'm going to be honest. It'll come up to me when it gets to the slide with that player. A couple high-scoring defenses. It's hard to remember it now that this week has already started, and I'm trying to remember towards last week, but who cares? You guys get the point. Bye weeks, none this week, and then in the next 2 weeks we have the rest of the bye weeks for the year, and then week 15 and on, there are no more bye weeks. So this week, it's a big one. Week 13 will be a big one. Ravens, Bills, Vikings, Raiders, Giants, Bears. Plenty of starters on those teams. You'll have, Lamar and Josh Allen and Hawk and Justin Jefferson if he's back, and Kincaid, Diggs, Josh Jacobs, and Devontae Adams, and probably no one, and Komet / DJ Moore / Fields maybe. Plenty of guys that will be out week 13, so week 13 is another risky week for some people. I haven't looked too much into it yet on who's in trouble. I mean, a lot will move around potentially between now and then, but it's a big week of buys. Our second week of the year that has 6 teams on bye. Now, like Grim Reapers, we have plenty of new ones joined the club. 3 new ones joined the 3 elimination club. That is the 49ers defense, Brian Robinson and Stephon Diggs. Some of them aren't really their fault. They just happen to be on teams that get eliminated. Like the Niners D has been good. They just happen to be on teams that get eliminated. And Brian Robinson also been decent. Interestingly, thing to watch, Cooper already started Brian Robinson this week, and Cooper is definitely on the block this week, and Brian Robinson only got him 7 points. So that could be Brian Robinson could become the 4. Only with 4 if Cooper goes. And same goes, I guess, for DK with Jake. DK could go to 4 if Jake gets eliminated. But interestingly, and I guess maybe not surprisingly, Tom owns none of these with 3 or 2 because he doesn't make any acquisitions, so hard for him to have any of them. I eliminated, there's more than these with 2, but I eliminated the ones that are just like, I know no one's going to roster for the rest of the year, like Elijah Moore or, I don't know, Zeke. I'm not going to put those on here. But you can see if those of you who own people that are at 2 as well, so we could see some more bump up. I hope one of these guys by the end of the year is like there's 1 at the top, because that'd be fun to see. But anyway, into the normal graphs. We've got next week versus the rest of season. Tom is not in a good spot at all. Jake, surprisingly, so I'll say Fantasy Pros, I'm not sure if they're taking into account the points that have already been scored by some of these teams' players. I did pull this data after Friday, so it should, I would think, but I've never done this. This is kind of uncharted territory. But the fact that Jake is up here seems not right unless Fantasy Pros really likes the rest of his guys, which I will say they do have good matchups. But yeah, I don't know what else I was going with. Oh, well, Sleeper obviously does take into account what's already been scored in the projection. So the oh wait, I forgot. This is not Sleeper. These are both Fantasy Pros. So Fantasy Pros next week and rest of season. Sleeper will be on the next one, which we will get to. But Jack way up here. JC and Potter just kind of barely in the green, and Ryan has now slipped out of the green here. He is not looking great according to the numbers. This is where I think it's not taking into account who's already played. Ryan is now projected on Sleeper to be like the highest or second highest scoring team because he already has like 80 points from his guys. I think if this was taking into account his players who have already played, he'd be up here on his week 4 rating. But his rest of season's above average, so good for him. Cooper is down here. And yeah, I think that kind of hits on everyone in this one. Now you have your Fantasy Pros versus Sleeper for this week. This is where, yeah, Jake is favored much more on Fantasy Pros than he is Sleeper. He's the third lowest on Sleeper, but the third highest on Fantasy Pros, above Potter and Ryan, which seems crazy to me, but that's why I think it's not taking into account people who have already played. Jack still way up here. JC in a decent spot. Potter is way up on the Sleeper, but right around the middle actually for Fantasy Pros, and kind of same with Ryan. So 2 yellows from Ryan. Surprising to see. Tom still way at the bottom left, not in a good spot. Cooper also in the red, but not as far down. And now position strength versus budget. It's starting to get skewed pretty far to the right here. Tom still with all the fab and the second weakest team according to this. This has Jake as the weakest team, and Cooper's not far behind, far ahead. But JC and Potter both in the green here, not by a large margin. Like I said, I think we're not really going to see anyone up here. It's going to be hard to be in the green. I mean, someone has to because this is all relative to each other, but it's going to be hard to be upright, top right of the green. Jack and Ryan, they both are around similar fab, but Jack supposedly has a stronger team according to the analytics. So yeah, that is the graphs. And now into the breakdown. I think a little bit's moved around, except I've kept JC, Potter, and Jack. Actually, I might have moved Potter up. Potter might not have been. Yeah, Potter was in the bottom right last week. I think he's now back up into the top right, and I will say that is because I liked what I saw from Devontae Adams. Justin Jefferson should be back soon. Cup, it still needs to be seen. I have Cup in. I just picked up Cup in my other Guillotine league, and I have him in another league, so I'm really banking on the Cup comeback. I would hope to see it. I think he'll play this week, but I don't know if Potter's going to risk starting him. I think he is right now, actually. But that said, I think Potter's team has earned himself back into the green here. I'll say this. I think all teams, to an extent, are really good now. Like, it's a 7-team league now, so everyone's got some really solid players on their team. So it is time to get a little bit more nitpicky in terms of how I think their future is going, how much bust potential players have, matchups even for the rest of the season. So, I mean, first off, I think it's without saying Tom is still going to stay down here. Like I said, until he spends it, I'm leaving him here. I think he still has a promising long term if he can start spending. But he's definitely always going to be in the danger zone in the short term, I should say, but not in the danger zone where you're bad in the short term and I don't like your long-term future or long-term projection. But Jake and Cooper have earned themselves a spot down here. Jake has been here, yet he still keeps scoring, so part of me is confused by that. I don't think I'm just hating on his team. I think on paper, there's still things I don't like about his team. I will say, even though he had some bad scores happen already, besides Mostert, the rest of his guys all have good matchups, so he could find a way to pull himself out of this hole this week. But I also think just like 1 or 2 more bad performances from any of his guys, and it's going to look bad because he's already had 2 bad performances. You can't really afford that many now. You kind of need everyone to step up. And Cooper, I mean, he has 0, so I think he has bumped himself down into here. he needs some breakout performances. I think that's how I look at it. He has some okay matchups, but I think he needs like a big game from either Josh Allen or Keenan Allen, which we've seen that happen numerous times. Other guys I think have chances to break out. Mixon, maybe with this new offense, they'll run the ball a ton. DJ Moore, Josh Jacobs, I think both those guys have some sort of potential to break out as well. But he needs that. He's going to need that to get out of here. If these guys want to ensure that they survive over Tom, they need that to happen because Tom has found a way week in and week out to make it happen with what he has. So we'll see. And Ryan is in a new category this week. I think, weirdly enough, I think he now is not as good. I mean, this is me being nitpicky because I kind of have to spread it all out now. Ryan is slightly below these three in that he has the least amount of fab out of the four of these guys. I think he has great running backs. He's clearly good this week. No way Ryan gets eliminated this week. So he's good in the short term. I think just with that fab being slightly less than these guys, it's just a tiny difference. So just out of spreading it all out, I'm putting Ryan here. I think he still needs to address the wide receiver position a little bit. I don't know if Tank Dell is going to fix all his problems. Not that he had problems, but I don't think he has any studs yet. And he moved on from Hawkinson as well, which I don't love, but he got some guys to fill in the meantime. And quarterback, I think, too. I like Herbert. Tua has been kind of a bum, but he didn't start him, so that's good. But Herbert is as good as he can be, I guess. I don't think he's a top 2, top 3 guy. So I think besides running back, Ryan doesn't have any outstanding positional groups, is what I will say about Ryan. But that is that. Now we're getting into each team. We've got Jake here, and I think I'm gonna look at everyone's accolades actually. Now that we're pretty far into the year, Jake does not have a trash can yet, which is interesting to see. But he's had. It looks like it's been basically a roller coaster here. Way up, down, up, down, up. So generally speaking, his team's been pretty consistently good, except for a couple bad weeks. Even though I've always kind of had him lower on these rankings every week, but he continues to do it week in and week out. So I'll give him his credit for that. Tank Dell. Oh, I did not change the GIFs. So you guys are getting a different GIF this week, or your same GIF as last week. So that's my bad again on something else I slipped up on. But I think he might still have Mike Evans. So yeah, it still kind of applies. Tank Dell, big performance. Lamar doing this thing as well. Singletary's been great, but I think he's going to go back to the bench now, fantasy wise. With oh god, what's his name? Oh no, Damian Pierce, coming back. But so yeah, Jake's team is looking pretty good. Keep in mind, 7 is the lowest rank you can get now. So he has, according to the analytics, the lowest RB1 and the lowest defense. I mean, that already happened, 0 points. Funny enough, this optimized lineup here does not include DK Metcalf, who he did start, I believe, over Thielen. So yeah, and he did not do well. So maybe he should have started Thielen, or maybe he doesn't. One of these guys he has benched for DK, and I think it was Thielen. But the moves he made this week, I actually will praise him on these moves this week. Ryan went and gave him Thielen and 10 fab for Tank Dell, who I think no one involved in this trade, those players are studs. Ryan, I think, has some, I don't know, clearly he likes Tank Dell, so he got his guy. But I like that Jake got some fab out of that. Can turn that fab into something way better than Tank Dell, I think. And he also got Thielen out of it, who's like a flex play probably still for now. And then he got Puka for 4 fab, which is, I don't love that one as much, but it's a guy to start this week and he needs it, so I think it buys him some security. If he didn't also get 10 fab from this Tank Dell trade, I would say the Puka trade was bad, but you can look at it as he got Thielen, Puka, and $6 for Tank Dell. And if you look at it that way, I think that's really good. So I think Jake's hoping to see another week here. JC, no trash cans for JC. Just a lot of good and just a couple ice cubes, just like Jake actually. It's a strong week for him. Saquon, Bills D. There's one of your top 3 scoring defenses. He hasn't spent money in a while. His team's been good enough, and he can get some guys for free. Broncos D for free, who I believe he's starting this week. A move I will say I don't love was getting Devonta Smith and Bijan for ETN. So while you can look at it as you got 2 starters for 1 starter, I think ETN is like borderline stud, if not definitely a stud. And Bijan, just with the offense not using him correctly. Once again, Arthur Smith is an idiot. He'll have his occasional good week, but not every week. Not as consistent as ETN. And Devonta Smith is also not as consistent and not a stud, I would say, by any means. So while they work for now and they're definitely startable for now, I think ETN was a better guy to have for the long term. So I don't love it. I will say I think JC was in a good enough position. I don't think he needed to do this. But he did. And if he likes these guys, he likes these guys, and I won't argue with him. He's made good moves all year of the few that he's made, so maybe this one works out for him. He's looking to keep it rolling. Ryan's team, Herbert top scorer last week, Hawkinson, in the gift here, but he's now off Ryan's team and on to Potter's. The two trades that Ryan made this week, acquiring Tank Dell for Thielen and 10 fab, and then also getting 13 fab for Hawkinson. So in the grand scheme of things, Ryan gets Tank Dell and 3 fab for Hawkinson and Thielen. I mean, I like this. I don't love losing Hawkinson, but 13 fab is pretty good, so I can't argue with that. In the grand scheme of both the trades combined, I think I'd rather have Hawk and Thielen. It's close. It's really close. Just because I think Hawk is a borderline stud. I mean, I've looked at his matchups for the rest of the year. The dude has a cakewalk of schedule for the rest of the year, so I think that's not a guy you want to move on from. I think that's a very, very, very startable guy for every week for the rest of the season. But you can also do a lot with 13 fab, but not when you throw 10 of it on Tank Dell, who I don't think is a stud. So, I don't love it. I don't love it, Ryan, but here we are. He's got some decent guys to fill in for Hawkinson. In the meantime, Taysom Hill and Ferguson, except he already started Ferguson over Taysom Hill, which I probably wouldn't have done. They're kind of equal in their own way. Taysom has some more upside, but I don't think Ryan needed an upside play, so he started Ferguson. Ferguson only got 4. Anyway, Ryan netted positive on fab, so that's one good thing to take away from all those trades, but don't love losing Hawkinson, so that is what it is. And Ryan has yet to get a star, looking at his accolades, but he's gotten everything else. Now Jack, Kyler Murray coming in, being his highest score this week. That is an interesting one to see. I think, first off, that would have been a new GIF I'd have to find. Most of these GIFs I have saved on my computer now of all these players that have been top scorers, but Kyler would have been a new one for sure. Monra, Puka doing their thing. A lot of green to see here for Jack's team. Justin Fields is the only questionable part of this team here. I think he actually has a stud at every position, in my opinion, except for QB, where I don't yet believe Justin Fields is that. But I've also seen last year Justin Fields go nuts and put up 40-point weeks back-to-back, so maybe we'll see that. But he also acquires ETN, who I think is now actually his first stud. Brees was maybe borderline, but the Jets are just kind of bad. Now as a stud at running back with ETN, stud at receiver with A.J. Brown and Amon-Ra and Diggs, stud at tight end with Kelsey. I'm liking what I'm seeing from Jack's team a lot. I think every single week he's made a good move. And I've already gave my take on this trade. I think he got the better end of it, and then getting 4 fab for Puka on his end is great because he doesn't need Puka. Puka does not find a way into this lineup here, in my opinion, especially with the risk of him not doing well as he has been recently. So 4 fab for him is great, and then getting a stud for Devonta Smith and Bijan, who are both just good at best. I like that. I'm a fan, Jack, of these moves. So good work. He continues to improve. And running back was a team need, I think, besides Brees, who has his own questionableness about him. He now has ETN, so looking pretty good, Jack. I like it. Now Cooper, Josh Allen and Keenan Allen kind of been his guys this year, and they keep it rolling. He had 6 fab going in to waivers, and he spent it all on Gibbs, which I won't hate because his running backs aren't the best. And Gibbs has clearly found himself a role in that Lions offense. He seems to be good every single week, and I think the Lions will bounce back from that bad game on Thanksgiving. Gibbs still had a good game-ish, 9 points, even with the whole team being kind of bad. So that is good to see always. But he gets a bunch of guys for free as well. Christian Kirk, Brian Robinson, Calvin Ridley, Cole Kmet, Titans D. He's starting Titans D, starting Kmet, starting Brian Robinson. Already did actually over Ramondre, and that only worked out I mean, did not work out that well. 7 points. So these are just kind of guys, in the way I look at it, as a bunch of dart throws. Some of these guys, like Calvin Ridley, if he repeats what he did last week, then shoot. I mean, like, dude, he's kind of a stud. I mean, not a stud in the way that I'm defining a stud, but he's definitely a flex play. So yeah, that's it for Coop. He doesn't have any money left, so I don't love that, but he's gotten himself into a little bit of a safer position this week, although I still think he's close to the bottom in terms of projection. And yeah, no trash cans and no flames for Cooper, surprisingly. He had one first place week, but other than that, just a bunch of ice cubes, so that is what it is. And I will say one last thing. I think only one more week of ice cubes and flames until I'm just going to have top and bottom being star and trash can, because it's going to be like 6-5 people, so definitely not top 25%, bottom 25% if you're second or second to last. So just a heads up so you guys are aware of that. What are we at now? 36 minutes? Okay, we got to speed up a little bit. Into the bottom 25%. Tom starting you off here. We kind of knew this. His team hasn't been that good, and he keeps getting these ice cubes. Jalen Warren, that would have been another one I'd have to find a new gift for. He's been hot lately, and he's going to start him again. I wish if I was still alive. I mean, I drafted Warren. I had him. I got eliminated, actually, when he was on bye. I really liked him. I didn't expect him to be this good, but it's cool to see it. Cowboys D getting it done. Kittle got it done last week, but not this week. He's still refusing to spend his fab. I don't know how he will end up using it. I mean, if he's gone this week, then he's gone. The fab goes away, but he has made no acquisitions yet this week, even though it is now Saturday. Usually by Saturday, he'll at least make some free claim after the fact, but he hasn't done that yet. I mean, he has a starting lineup pretty much set here with these guys. I think Cowboys already did their job. Kittle did not. I think he needs Stroud and JT to both have good games, and the rest of these guys to just, hit their floors, or one of these guys needs to pop off. He needs a couple guys to pop off for sure. For him to see another week here, but we will see. And now earning another trash can is Potter, who I've already said is, I like his team a lot. He's just had a bad streak here related to injuries and bye weeks, so I think he'll pull out of it. Ryan was in a similar spot like earlier in the season, like midway through the season. Ryan was getting a bunch of ice cubes and not doing great, but he's turned that around into now being one of the top teams, and I think Potter is going to kind of do the same thing. I don't think Potter's going this week. He's got studs at receiver. Tyreek, Kupp, still need to see it. Devontae Adams, I've kind of seen it. And then Jefferson potentially coming back. The only thing he needs to address really is running back. He now has a stud at tight end too. Hockenson, I love Hockenson. 13 is a lot of fab, but he had the fab to spend, so I don't hate it at all. Getting a guy who you will start for the rest of the year. Mahomes, stud. I like Kamara, but after Kamara, I think I need to see some improvement from running back, but his team is really good all around, so I like it. And one last look at Ben. I already kind of touched on it. He got eliminated. I didn't love a couple weeks ago him trading away CMC because he was kind of desperate to survive in the week that he was on bye. But this is what his team was looking like going into the week. You had Achane get hurt. That never helps anybody. Just kind of some dud weeks from some other guys. Purdy, I'll give Ben his props on Purdy. Purdy, I think, was like the second highest scoring QB that week after Trevor Lawrence. So he got it done. It was just the rest of his team that did not get it done. Diggs got clamped up against the Jets. And just no one else did enough for him to survive. And that's really how it is now. You need guys. You need guys to pop off sometimes. You can't just be hitting floors anymore. And also, it only takes like one or two dud performances to tank your whole week and get eliminated. So that's what we saw happen here. But he gave it his all. He traded for A.J. Brown in the last second. I don't hate the move. I think A.J. Brown had a higher ceiling than Devonta Smith, although Devonta Smith did end up having a better game. It was not enough to save him either way. He ends with no trash cans, which I guess doesn't really matter. If you get eliminated, that's worse than a trash can. But did get one top performance that one week with 200. That was legendary. And no flames though either. That was his one week of glory, and he never came back to it. All right, into the hot takes. I like to keep these consistent, and I've a lot that has happened in the league has made me want to switch things around. But I'm keeping it at Potter. I think he bounces right back into it. I don't care that he's gotten 2 trash cans back-to-back weeks. He's alive and well, in my opinion, and I think he'll, take the team he has right now. I think he's more solidified himself into the spot, in my opinion, because of Hockenson and Mahomes on top of his wide receiver core. So it's just running back that needs to get addressed, and he's looking pretty. And I'm keeping Ryan here. I'm so tempted to put someone else here, like JC and Jack. They're both really good, but I'm trying to keep. I still think Ryan has a team of like elite running backs, and just he needs to address. He has multiple areas he needs to address, as opposed to Jack. I think Ryan is only really, really solid at running back, and the rest kind of needs work. But that running backs are kind of at a premium. There's more good receivers to go around than there are good running backs. So there is something to be said about Ryan having 4 really good running backs. So yeah, I'm going to keep him there. I will keep him there as my honorable mention. It's not a hot take if I put like the JC's been just a stud week over week over week, so it's not that hot of a take for me to put him as a projection to win the whole thing. So no worries, Jake and Jack, or JC and Jack. I still think your teams are great. And my prediction to get eliminated this week is Tom. I think as much as I really want to see, and I think Ryan said the same thing, as much as I would love to see someone else get eliminated and then Tom finally spend his money and then flip his team into like a powerhouse with all that fab, I just don't think it's going to happen. I think just because I'm putting him here doesn't mean I want him to get eliminated. I think I'd rather see something like league shifting like that happen. I think Ryan agrees. Maybe some of you agree. Maybe not, because you don't want to. Those of you at the top, get ready. Tom's coming for you if he survives and spends. But I think he goes this week, unfortunately. Honorable mention, I've said it's kind of between Jake and Cooper, but I'm going to go Jake. I kind of wanted to reverse jinx it by going Cooper, because I do think it could be Jake, and every time I've said Jake on the slide, he's ended up putting up a top 25% performance. So, Jake, maybe you should be happy that I put you here, because maybe you'll just pop off again against what I think. But yeah, those first couple bad performances are not helping him here at all. So yeah, he's my honorable mention. And now my power rankings to end it off. Ben, this is now the second time where someone last on my power rankings got eliminated, and those have not always been my prediction, funny enough. So maybe this is a better predictor, is the actual power rankings, but I try to make my predictions more based on an individual week, look at the team. But anyway, JC stays at the top, Jack stays at 2. Potter, I think, goes up above Ryan here. I think they were flipped last week, so Potter goes up 1. I've given my take on why I think his team is a little better than Ryan's. A little bit more fab. I think he's got more security at multiple positions and just has the running backs to fix, whereas Ryan has more areas I think he could improve on. Cooper stays right there at 5, and I think Jake moves up above Tom. I want to say Tom is higher because he owns the market, but I don't think he's actively looking to use that power to his advantage. It doesn't seem. I'm not sure if he watches these videos, but if he does, Tom, please, it would be awesome to see you spend it this week if you survive. Maybe spend it before this week. I mean, hey, make a trade. You can get anyone you want, really. Although people know you have money, so they might not take anything less than a lot for a big guy. But I would love to see Tom make a comeback here. It'd be a cool thing to see. But yeah, for now, I don't think he's going to do that. And I'll stick with the last place on my power rankings getting eliminated. So I'm going to match that up here with Tom being in last. And I also have him as my prediction to get eliminated. So yeah, that wraps up this week. Hopefully, I better get these predictions somewhat right now that I've had, a quarter of the games or so happen already. So yeah, we'll see if I can use that to my advantage in predicting here. But good luck, everyone. As always, don't get eliminated.